an oil change today. Ordered all this stuff online. I did also paint the kickstand black. That's a really minor thing. Can't remember if I mentioned it in the last video or not, but the dirtiness behind this cowling behind the windshield was really bugging me. So I took the windshield off, wiped this black cowling all down, and then wiped the windscreen both sides, waxed it. I also waxed the bike too. You can't really tell. It was pretty shiny to begin with, but it's all waxed now, looking pretty sharp. So today's oil change day, and I'll probably get around to lubing the cleaning and lubing the chain as well. So let's get started. I'm gonna fire it up. Well, I'll probably need the keys first. All right. After it's warmed up, I'll get my oil change stuff ready and take it around the block a few times just to make sure it's warmed up before I drain the old oil out. Unfortunately with these, you gotta take off the side panel, I read. Now that it's a little warmed up, I got my T27 Torx head, put that in my drill. I had earlier sprayed the 3 bolts for the engine cover with what do you call it, PB Blaster. I did two of them through here where you can see the drain plug. There's the 2 engine cover bolts, and there is the drain plug. And so I put PB Blaster on them just to make it a little easier. This is another one of our stops along our way. This is the oil filter housing. There's a little bolt in here I'll take out to take this chain cover off, and then I'll take this filter off. But since I'm going reverse order apparently for this video, we will start up with here with actually draining the oil from the reservoir tank. If you don't know about these bikes, the fuel tank is actually right here, and the oil tank is behind this cover. This is the oil filler. So we'll take off this cover, drain the reservoir tank first, then do the filter out of the filter housing, and then we'll drain the oil out of the bottom of the engine last. But I happen to have the tool ready to take off this engine cover, so that's what I'm doing now. There we go. I'm from Canada. I've lived in Northern Illinois for a while, so I'm quite used to rust. This is a T25 Torx head, not T27 like on the bottom. And I really enjoy working on motorcycles because there's so little rust on these things compared to cars, because nobody really drives these in the winter. So every time I'm worried there's going to be a tough bolt to get out, it's usually pretty easy.
There's a proper tool to get this reservoir cap off, but instead order the part number I have in the description below and drill a hole and stick a metal rod through it.
Forgot about this one here, which is under the seat. So I took this guy off. And then after that seat one, there's one more over here. This guy. More. All right. Finally got it off. Left the signal light on, but the 4 bolts in here came out. Got this one here. This one here.
And one more where the front fender and the bottom of the headlight area meet.
I'm going to undo this drain plug here. A little bit of leaking going on, but we'll replace the seal. I noticed there's a slight water leak from the water pump. It's like a weeping, which is pretty common for these. I knew that before I bought it. I think the seller told me about it. As I check this, I'll have to look at this level, see how it looks level, the coolant reservoir. If it's weeping, I'm wondering if I need to top this up a little bit while I've got the cover off. So I'll take a look at that as well. All right, it was a 6mm hex. First try, got a good lucky guess. It was a little loose. A lot of the videos I watched before today made a point of tilting the bike over or tilting the reservoir tank over by taking off the reservoir tank and then letting it sag to the side here. My bike's on a kickstand, unlike them, so I think that should be enough angle to get it out. I'm gonna put the camera down now, expecting that this oil might miss my pan here. So I'm just gonna drain the oil, you'll see in a sec. All right, oil's coming out. Not too dirty. The washer, or the seal, did fall out with some of the oil in the drain, but it's draining, so I'll let that go for a bit and I'll start on the filter housing. All right, these guys came out with the T25 Torx, just like up top. Looks like I've got a missing one right here, so I'll have to replace that, but the other two came out okay. There's the chain, there's the filter housing. And I'll have to order one of these guys. I guess there should be one there. All right, next is the filter housing itself. These are also, oh, these look like T27, so switching back to the T27. Before I forget, I'll put this guy back on. That way I don't get a pool of oil everywhere later when I fill up the tank. I'm guessing that's aluminum, so careful tightening it. Don't over tighten those threads. Will probably get stripped out pretty easily. If there's one thing I have more than enough of, it's cardboard. So I made a little cardboard river for the oil to follow as it comes off. Keeps it away from, there's a wire back there, keeps it away from that wire. So there's no reason to get that oil all over the wire. And that way keeps it a little cleaner. The seal on this one, seal looks okay. The kit came with a new one, so of course I'll replace it, but I'm just curious how these things look. Not too bad. It says Rotax on there, that's pretty cool. As I pull it out, since I'm a newbie at this, I'm gonna make sure I note which direction the filter is. So the rubber seal goes into the engine. The metal part faces out of the engine. Good reminder for me, and then I'll use a rag or something to clean out all the oil that's left in there. I've also got a lot of rags. I'm a rich man. Oh yeah, super clean now. All right, new filter time. It's in this pile. Next to my helmet, next to my bodywork. Compression tester for the Honda project, coming in a later video. Got to test the compression on that thing. There's a story behind that bike. So chain brushes. Here we go. Here's the filter, and then I'll grab the seals as well. All right, rubber side in. All right, before I put this back on, I figure I better drain the oil so it doesn't have a vacuum. So I did get the oil out. It came out came off pretty easily. For the record, it's a 24mm, so a pretty big honking bolt. Mine at least appears to have a magnetic catch on it, so that if there's any metal, it will catch it. Mine looks fairly clean. So this bike has 12,750 miles on it, so I wouldn't expect too much, but it does look pretty good. And I'll drain the rest of this oil, of course, wipe it down, and put the new brass copper seal on here and put it back in and fill it up with oil. And then put the, well, first I'll put the housing on, housing cover, this cover, and then the oil. I ran my finger with some oil around the new seal, so that's nice and sealed up. Guessing there's only one way to put this on. Did I get really lucky and get it the first try? Huh. Out of curiosity, let's see. Well, that doesn't work. Well, that might work too. Huh. I'm used to Hondas where there's only one way to put this on. I guess BMW made it radially symmetrical. Alright. Alright. I'll tighten that up now. You're now perched on top of my Honda. I've got my drill at the weakest setting possible. Don't worry, I'm not gonna grind down on these bolts. I'm just gonna gently tighten them up, and then I'll hand tighten them later. I do have my drill on the weakest setting so as not to hurt it, and I'm going very gently. I don't want to just crank down on these. It's probably all aluminum and not so strong, so I'll hand tighten these in a sec. Just got a couple drips left of the oil. Almost done. Believe it or not, the little attachment here, the T25 attachment, fell right into the drain, the oil drain, so I had to dump that out to filter out the socket, or the attachment here. But anyway, got it out, got these tightened up. Housing filters tightened up. The main bolts tightened up. So now we can put it in. I think it's 2.3 liters. I'll double check that, but 2.3 liters of oil, and then we can fire it up, do a test ride. After that, I'll put on all the skid plate and side panel and stuff just to make sure everything's running before I button it up completely. I already got my oil here. And I find if I hold it sideways, even with the handlebars in the way, I don't need to use a funnel. Pour it sideways. Not too fast. Remember, these are dry sump engines. Oh, just as I was saying that, these are dry sump. So you can't fill them up all the way right away. You gotta fill them up a little bit, run the engine, and then fill them up the rest of the way. And as I was saying that, I forgot and went too fast and filled it up. So anyway, I'll fire it up, wipe down the oil, and then do the rest of the oil after it runs for a bit.
All right, it's a few days later, and my plan for today is to take off the side panel here and replace the air filter. I ordered an air filter, you'll see in a sec. But to take off the side panel, it's just like the other side. You take off these bolts using the T25, I believe it is. I've already done that, as you can see. And I'll put it aside and grab the air filter so I can show you guys what the air filter looks like. I ordered it on Amazon, I think. It's made by Mal. It's a brand I've heard of and used on car stuff before. No idea what the old filter looks like. I'm guessing it's not pretty because the owner said he never replaced it and he'd owned the bike for many years, and so did his uncle. So who knows when it's been replaced last. But now that I got the outside panel off, I'll take off these two bolts here, top and bottom, and there's a grommet in the front. All right. To get those bolts off, there's like an under panel, it's an intake duct. To get those off, you're going to want a T20. Not only that, but you're going to want a extension, and one that's not too big in diameter. The top one isn't too deeply recessed into this ducting, but the bottom one is quite deep. And my first attempt with this black extension only, it was too thick. Right at the very end, I think it hit something. And all right, now for the fun part. Time to take off the ducting and see what's behind it. And you can see it was pretty gross. A bunch of dust fell out, leaves, sand. It's just nasty. And that's just the ducting. Drop a screw, better get that. Put these in my retaining jar, but you can see it was gross. The filter itself was pretty bad as well. Looked like it was damaged, like stuff had hit it or something, which is kind of weird, but this one's definitely going to be worth some vacuuming and some time because it's pretty bad. It's been a while. I know it's been a while, so this is kind of what I was expecting, but it is going to be really satisfying replacing this. Looking forward to it. Before that, though, I'm going to vacuum it out and make sure the ducting is cleared out before I get my nice new filter in there. But oh, it's so gross. You can see. Look, you can see right through part of it. That hole right there, that's awful. So I don't know what hit it, but it's been damaged. So I'm glad I'm replacing it.
All right, got the new filter in. Before I put it in, I did, while it was still outside of the bike, I did spray the edges around with silicone seal, and I'll probably do a little bit here too, just so that the bodywork, the ducting, can slide over it and make a nice connection to it. But the filter's in, so that's really nice and satisfying, and I'm going to put it back together now. Next item that arrived is that GM wheel nut socket I was telling you about. I'm going to use this, hopefully, as a oil filler cap socket. So this would have gone on, I'm guessing, well, maybe a pretty big car, Silverado, GMC Sierra type thing. I was picturing it would have gone more on maybe like an Olds Toronado or a Buick LeSabre or something, but this looks like a truck-sized one. Let's see if it fits. Oh yeah, perfect. So I'm going to add this to the toolkit, or at least find a place for it in here where I won't lose it. Maybe I'll put it in with my registration, and that way I won't have to worry about getting the oil open on a trip. What I will do is I'll drill a hole through here so I can stick a rod in there. I'll use one of the rods that's already in the toolkit, so I don't have to add another item to the list. So I'm going to do that now. Side project. This thing is nasty. The toolkit from the bike is just full of dirt and, I don't know, rust bits, even though I don't think the tools are rusty, but it's at least dirty. So I'm going to clean this while it's out too, because why not? I dumped out all the tools. Some fuses came out, so that's good. Smart previous owner brought along a few fuses, or maybe BMW puts these in, I don't know. Whole bunch of bits and rust and dirt came out. Some of the tools are pretty rusty actually. I wonder if I can sand those down. I'm going to try that. And the case itself is pretty dirty. And while I'm doing that, why not spend some time wiping this down? So, in for a penny in for a pound here. I got the tools a little cleaner at least. It's actually like a sandpaper type attachment for my drill. And although not perfect, they're at least better than they were. And at the same time, I cleaned the case, just some car soap, water, and mitt. So now I gotta let it get really dry so that I don't get my tools all rusty all over again. And I drilled a hole through that wheel nut we were talking about. Not exactly sure the size, but looks like it's maybe, which one was it? Well, you can test it. Looks like maybe a 5/16 or something size. Was perfect. It's a really firm fit, so it's not going to wiggle around or break or stretch the hole. And kind of excited to try it out, so why not? Oh yeah, works great. So that's awesome. Thanks to GM for making that specialty BMW part for us. I also cleaned up the area under the seat a little bit. I just took a sponge and some soapy water and cleaned this up a little bit, so it's a little better. This area is still pretty dirty. I didn't want to spend too much time on it and get the computers wet, and all this stuff looks expensive and scary to me, so I don't want to deal with that. But at least for the back half, it's pretty clean and not disgusting to work on now. While I was at it, I cleaned up the underside a little bit. I'm not going to get it super clean because it's just going to get dirty again next time I ride it. But it's cleaner than it was, so that's a start. Also, one more purchase I made. I picked up this aluminum motorcycle trailer. This can carry both my bike and the other red Honda bike if I needed to, plus my brother-in-law's Yamaha XT250, which you've seen on the channel before maybe.
Anyway, that's it for this video. Next, I'll be tackling the wheels and taking those to the dealership for mounting, but I've never taken wheels off a motorcycle before, so that should be interesting. And a couple other little odds and ends. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.